This is the most famous football club in the world, and in the 1950s, the manager, Matt Busby, transformed the whole approach to modern-day football with your own first emotional steps out to the welcome roar of the crowd. But why should Manchester United be the right choice for any young player?
Well, the structure of the club is about young players. We firmly believe, and always have, that the player we produce is better than the one we buy. You only need to look at the history of our club to realise that the great players have come through the system. And that was obviously started by Sir Matt Busby in the early 50s. He had a vision of this club forevermore, and it won't change.
Matt Busby became manager of Manchester United in 1945. 3 years later, his team won the FA Cup. In 1952, they were at their peak when they won their first title in 40 years.
We had won a championship in 52, and I felt at the time that there was need for a change. Some of the players were getting over the top.
First of all, he replaced half a team in 1952 with all young lads, which was his vision. The Busby Babes, as they were known. It's also started in the inauguration of the FA Cup for youth teams, and we won it 5 times in a row. And of course, Bobby Charlton, who came to the club as a 15-year-old lad from the northeast of England, under the great tuition of Sir Matt and Jimmy Murphy, and became a legend.
He's a lovable man, and he just created a lovely family atmosphere at the place, and it was because of that there was a great success. It was the first time ever that youngsters at 17-year-old were put into the first team. So you were taking a chance with youngsters, and he had this foresight. He said, that's the way it's going to be. The influx of the young players had just sort of set everything alight. But the common thing that ran through them all for a period was Duncan Edwards, who was an absolutely fantastic player. And he sort of epitomised the young players and the professionalism.
Edwards was incomparable at his age. Mm-hmm. I have never seen a more accomplished player at his age, never.
I played with him in the youth team, and we literally depended on him. He demanded the ball from everybody, you know, and you gave him it. He just had this he had this power that he generated, and he just was a born leader.
I have no doubt in my mind which was the greatest side, and that was the pre-Munich side. Because, Arthur, there's even young boys, 19-year-old and 20. We were winning the English League Championship by 11 points.
There was some basic work that you had to do as a youngster. It was like the Busby indoctrination, so to speak. The things that were necessary to be a good professional. And all the bad habits that you might have as a schoolboy were knocked out of you.
I joined in 1957, actually, and it's just a pleasure to be here. The whole place, everything about it, there's just a magic about it. And playing under Sir Matt was just, well, it was just a total joy. Sir Matt's philosophy was that you go out and attack right from the bell. And with players like Charlton and Lauren Best, you could score 2 in the last 2 or 3 in the last 10 minutes because they did the unexpected.
When I joined them in '62, they were just recovering really from the Munich air disaster. And then the year later, in '63, of course, the great George Best came on the scene. Well, of course, I'd seen George Best in training as a young boy. I mean, he came, I can't remember what age he would be, 15 or 16. You can see then that this was a boy that had exceptional talent. Of course, we won the Cup in '63, which was the start of something good for United then. We were second in '64, we won the title in '65. Then we went on, of course, to the European Cup.
We'd won the European Cup. And of course, if you see any of the old footage of the European Cup final, how everybody, immediately the match is finished, the dash for the old man.
And the beauty about Manchester United, well, the beauty of Busby was that, and it is to this day, is that Manchester United teams will always look to play attractive football.
Well, I mean, he's done a first-class job, Alex. He's come in, he's reorganised everything. He believes in it, and as I say, it's not just about the first team. He believes in everything the way through.
Well, when I arrived in 1986, I had my own idea and vision of what it should be. Irrespective of what it was at that moment in time, I wanted to do it exactly the way I wanted. And when I presented it to the board, I get absolute 100% backing. They were as enthusiastic as I was.
The youth programme at Manchester United has been very important, right, going back to the early days for Sir Matt Busby. And over the years, we've tried to keep up that standard, but there were times when it fell. And when Alex came, he brought us back online and stressed the importance of that part of the club. The board were only too pleased to give every possible backing. I'm sure it will continue that way in the future, especially having regard to the high transfer fees that have to be paid nowadays.
So how does it all start for a 10-year-old hopeful schoolboy?
We employ about 35 scouts in various ways, probably about 15 that scout professionals and the others that scout schoolboys. Before any boy comes to the club, one of the senior members of staff will look at him, and if he's good, then we would invite him to the Centre of Excellence, where he will be entitled to 1 hour coaching per week. So all is geared, certainly at the Centre of Excellence, to judging whether we feel a lad might ever have a chance of playing for Manchester United, and we would try to sign him on his 14th birthday. We're interested in boys of high potential. We're not interested in bulk purchase. We like to believe that every boy that comes here has a chance of playing for Manchester United.
Once they're going through their schoolboy period, that we have to then offer a YTS, a young professional contract, at the age of 16.
Before I signed, I had a lot of worries because it's such a big club, and as soon as you sign and get underway, it's just a great feeling, no worries at all now.
Before I signed, Arsenal and Forest showed an interest, but I was always going to sign here. Always wanted to sign here.
Some parents might feel that their boy might get a better chance with a smaller club. Would you agree with that?
If a boy has ambition and wants to be at the top, then this club provides for that. It's got the resources. I don't see why any boy should think about going to a smaller club when he can go to the very top. Once they've decided to join United, we're all delighted, of course, but we then hand it to our club secretary, Ken Merritt.
I'm responsible for the legal side of the signing of the young players, and then the onward for their academic careers, whilst they're still players with United.
I think further education is very important. I do the business and leisure course, and I enjoy it. I think it's very important, and the course we do is brilliant.
Education and other aspects of their progress require constant supervision. Who looks after them?
The responsibilities to our youth development officer, Paul McGuinness, who's young and is a former school teacher, played for Manchester United. He's got a terrific background for this particular type of job.
My role really at the club is looking after the players, mainly young players, mainly off the field. So I look after especially the ones who are away from home. I get to know the lads before they actually come, so I get to know what their personality's like, how they behave. In general, the attitude's fantastic, and the big thing about it is they all want to play for United, they all want to play, and they've all got dreams of being top-class footballers.
My ambition is to keep working hard and to get myself into the first team, and if I can, possibly progress and get into one of the national sides.
They have to be guided in the right areas, and hopefully that's a job that I can carry out.
Do they enjoy it?
Oh, they love it, yeah. I mean, you'd be mad not to enjoy the place like this. Great facilities, fantastic pitches, equipment, good coaches, watching one of the best teams in Europe, learning from some of the best players in the country.
We've got 30 players, 30 YTS players between the ages of 16 and 18, an unusually large number. So what we've got to do this season, we've got to have 2 coaches working with them. So it's Pop Robson, the coach, not the player, and myself, and we split them up into 2 groups. But generally, most days we do work together, as you can see this morning. A good player must have good technical ability. I think that's quite obvious. But also we look for enthusiasm. I mean, I think we are renowned for flair players. So there's a lot of work on individual coaching goes into it. But on the other hand, they've got to have an understanding of the game, so team play is vitally important as well.
Of course, gym work, coaching and training are the main aspects of a young player's development, but equally important are their health and their welfare.
Obviously, you have to have first-class accommodation, and we're very fortunate to have landladies like Brenda Goslin, who's been with the club for so many years and looks upon the players as their family, really.
Oh, they're very good. I would like to think I've got a very good relationship with them. Sometimes they get homesick, and I always like them to know the kettle's always on if they need a little chat, and it's very important that they feel at home, and obviously it reflects in how they play if they're happy, and and settled down okay.
Brenda's a great lady. She does a great job, and we're all very grateful to her in the digs.
It's very good, really, because, you know, if they come and say they've got a problem and I can't deal with it, I can tactfully ask, you know, one of the coaches for some help, or Paul, and he'll help out with that if I can't deal with it on my own.
She looks after us very well. She cooks very good dinners, and all the boys in the digs are grateful to her.
I think they'd very much like to eat burgers and chips all day long, but I insist they have a very well-balanced diet, and we feed them pasta and rice. Of course, they have to have bran flakes in the morning, and special cereals like that. So.
The number of calories a player might burn up in the morning depends on how intensive the exercise has been, but exercising daily, working hard, they need a good supply of food after every session, and we try and do that by providing food here, carbohydrate food essentially, in the canteen.
The nutrition and I work very closely together to make sure what they get is towards their diet. They have a different choice every day.
Do you get any complaints?
No, very seldom.
Food's good, is it?
Yes, smashing.
Do the youngsters still like the junk food, or do they
no.
watch what they're eating these days?
They don't get no junk food. They may do outside, not in here.
Get the beans in them. Follow Paddy.
The diet is very important in that it can allow a player to train effectively, improve their fitness and improve their stamina.
Talking of fitness, how important is a good club physio?
It's so important that I have three. We're the only club in Great Britain who have three physiotherapists. Jim McGregor, Jim Curran, both of them with the club for so many years, and Robert Swires, who joined us last year.
One factor we do have with young players is overuse syndromes, when they have they're playing so many games 3 or 4 times a week and training every day nearly, and that's a definite different factor we have from older players.
There's a preventive role. Each morning we have Rob looking after all the youngsters, and he does various exercises every morning with them in the gym, and this of course helps reduce the risk factor of injury.
The most common injuries are the same as with senior players, really. It's ankle and knee ligament injuries, and then muscle strains to the leg, occasional back problems.
Well, I come down 3 or 4 times a week, and if there's any medical problems, sore throats, tonsillitis, that sort of thing, we sort those out. Chest infections, a variety of minor medical complaints. If it's a medical problem, of course, obviously he's examined and we make our decisions then there on the spot whether he continues to play or not. If it's a physical problem due to injury, Jim and I might have a consultation before deciding which is the best line to proceed on.
Are you ever under pressure to declare a player prematurely fit after injury?
Never. That's the manager. He never, ever puts me under that sort of pressure. Never.
Injury isn't the only thing to affect a player's game.
With any growing boy, there's all 101 problems. It could be different things. But we're very fortunate. We have a tremendous club chaplain, John Boyers, who takes over all these types of responsibilities.
I guess I talk to the players about anything and everything, really. I try to be a friend of the club, and if there's any problem, and some of them are quite small, some of them are quite large, you're there and you're available to help.
Are you kept busy?
I'm kept very busy. It's a very, very big club indeed.
Well, at the moment we have 70 players, but we only have about 15 over 23, so it's a young club. But then we have 150 staff at Old Trafford, right from the boardroom right down to the laundry ladies, with Nora in charge in that laundry. She's a wonderful girl.
The kit comes at lunchtime after they've trained, and we do all the training kit then, and then they train again in the afternoon, and we do that the next morning. There's 70 of everything, like as regards the training kit, and then you've got your match shirts as well.
The amount of equipment that comes through this laundry is unbelievable. This training kit comes in every day, so the girls they now have 5 minutes to themselves. I mean, they'll just have their lunch while they're working. That's how busy it is in the laundry.
How do you manage such a large workforce?
Well, it's difficult, but you have to have a really good assistant, and I have one in Brian Kidd, who's done a fantastic job here.
Brian Kidd signed for Manchester United as a schoolboy, went on to have a glittering first-team career and later became youth development officer.
You never lose the policies trying to bring into the club, i.e. the youth policy. Right through the club, we're all very keen on it, to bring young talent through. And it's great when the first team just give the time, they speak to the kids and they really look after them. They encourage the kids. I'm not just saying it. The first team has a terrific spirit amongst them. And it obviously filters through to the young kids, right down to the schoolboys.
When they come down and play in the junior games, or if you progress up and play in a reserve game or even in the first team squad, players like Brian Robson go out of the way to help you.
Well, when I first came here as a schoolboy, there was a very decent programme for the kids, but I think the manager, since he's come here, he's set out his stall to improve the youth side and the schoolboy side of the club, and I think you can see by the amount of players that are coming through now that it's working. Obviously, the name of United has a great appeal, and when I came here for the very first time, I knew that I wanted to be here. I've been very fortunate to play in sides. I've won things as well, and I think if you do get an opportunity to come here, you've got to go for it and enjoy yourself, because you never know what can happen. Ryan's proof of that.
What did your parents think of you coming to Manchester United?
Obviously they were thrilled, because Manchester United is one of the biggest clubs in the world, so obviously they were thrilled, and they knew that I'd always wanted to be a footballer, so couldn't have come to a better place, really.
Was it always going to be Manchester United? Were they always his team?
Yeah, always.
Why?
I don't know, I think it just stems back to them always being a great team from the past and always having a big following, and he was always a Red.
Were you glad he'd signed?
Yeah, very glad. Obviously, because it was a career for him, it was a job.
As I say, I think he's the best in the world at the moment, and can only get better. He's still only 19. It's frightening when you think he's not going to hit his peak until he's 28.
What do you make of Alex Ferguson, the way he's been with Ryan Giggs? Do you applaud it? Do you agree with it? Do you think he's done a good job with him?
I think he's done great, yeah. I think he's handled the situation perfectly, because this kid's coming, he's, he really is a superstar.
What does Ryan think of the current youth squad and the club's policies?
I think it's very good, because they're starting at all ages now, really, the centre of excellence. So, they're 10, 11 years, 12 years of age, and coaching staff are doing really well. And it showed by the youth team the last few years.
We've had a fantastic spell, where we can say, right, it works. Manchester United's youth policy definitely works.
They've got a very strong side, and I'm quite sure that a few of them will be in the first team.
But how will these youngsters progressing to the first team handle the inevitable fame and the media pressures?
Well, when you come to a club like Manchester United, you've got to be able to handle the media. And at the moment, organised by Paul McGuinness, there's media training at the club, and people from local radio come in and they test us and try and catch us out. It's very good. It's brilliant. A small stadium, and it was, 3 sides of the ground were packed. And unlike Old Trafford, at Old Trafford it's only going to be one side packed, but probably a bigger crowd, so... The media course was great. It really helped all the young lads to be confident in front of the camera, really, so I think it did all of us a world of good.
What do you think of the youth programme here? Are they good to you?
Yeah, it's got a very good youth programme here. Because we've got the best coaches, most of the lads go and progress through their England. It's 6 of them went last year, so I think we have the best youth programme in the country.
It's a great atmosphere to work in. We all have a laugh, as well as being serious, and it's good.
There's a good atmosphere between the coaches, players, and although we know we're here to play football, or we're here to be footballers, they know when to have a laugh and a joke.
If you can't play here, you can't play anywhere. Even when it's empty, it's got an atmosphere. It's just, the place is just buzzing. And I was here for the last game of last season when they won it, and it was like putting the clock back. So it's a special place. And even the opposition love coming here to play, because it lifts them. Don't usually get too much when they get here, but it's a special club, that's for sure.
Well, now you've seen what's on offer here at Old Trafford, can there really be any other choice?
After all, this is Manchester United.
Sir Matt Busby created something that no one could possibly imagine could be done. He has made this club. He's made the tradition the standard. He's made the romance. And all I'm trying to do is to live by that. And anyone who does come here has to live by that standard. But the one thing you should never do is try to copy or emulate or compare yourself with Sir Matt Busby.